Welcome to the Practice Leader Podcast, brought to you by Ascent, a show for medical practice administrators who feel stuck in the daily chaos and want to lead with intention. I'm Zed Williamson, founder and CEO of Physician Growth Accelerator.
And I'm Paul Richards, president of Ascent and director of otolaryngology at the University of Utah School of Medicine. Every week, we explore what high-performing leaders are doing in real time, so you can stop reacting and start leading with purpose, strategy, and results.
It's something that you're hearing in almost every sentence from every person you talk to and every company that's trying to sell something, and that is AI. It's everywhere. You probably have an opinion about it, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. And you probably realize that it's going to be a part of your business life going forward. And that's why we're speaking with our guest today, Joe Goldstein. He's the founder of OCS IT. He is a technology leader providing high-level technology solutions to ENT practices. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
So AI, you can't get away from it. And whether people want to use it or not, it's becoming inevitable. Am I off base with that assessment?
No, it's that old analogy. You can't swing a dead cat anymore and not hit something that has AI related to it. So it's spot on.
And when you think about someone, listening to this podcast, so a practice administrator, typically their cup is pretty full. So I'm sure there's some value, some ideas that they like potentially how AI might help them. But there's also this ambiguity about where do you start? When do I use it? When do I not? How can we help bring some clarity to this person who's in this position?
Right. One of the statements that has been around for a long time, thanks to Nike, is just do it. And I think really just getting started is taking that first step, putting in your first prompt, signing up with, the default, which typically is ChatGPT, and just starting to play with it, not putting anything sensitive in it, just starting to learn how to use the tool and using it for silly stuff. Have it make a recipe for you. Tell it the 5 ingredients that you have in your fridge and have it give you a recipe for whatever you can make for dinner that night. Start with simple things. And once you start going down that path, you can start learning all the different ways that you could potentially use it to be of benefit in your day-to-day.
I love that. Just start building some familiarity so that it doesn't feel like this, hole of wonder, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it can definitely be overwhelming. Just the sheer number of tools and applications that you see today. You do a search, your search is coming up with AI results, right? You're using it whether you even know you're using it or not. Typically, if you're using Google to search, it's coming back with its AI answer now, along with its regular answer. If you're in, Edge is the same thing. Each one has its own AI engine that is bringing back these results. So if you're using Grammarly, that's a very popular tool now. It's bringing back AI results. You open a PDF, it's giving you an AI summary. You use Gmail, it's giving you a summary about your email. So it's kind of everywhere already, and you may be using it without even knowing it. But I think really to use it effectively is to, again, kind of start jumping in with some of the tools that make sense for you and make sense to your practice. And then, obviously there's the big ticket items where people are knocking on your door trying to sell you these solutions for your practice as well.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that because there's a lot of different softwares that are used within a medical practice. And I imagine that there's listeners out there that are in one of a couple different buckets. One bucket is the software they've been using that maybe they're semi-okay with, happy with, is now trying to shove some version of AI down their throat. They're also likely getting outreach from other competing companies who are using AI to show why they might be a better fit for them. What is someone who is still in that tiptoe world? How do they determine the value of AI as it relates to the tools they already use?
A lot of it's going to be taking a look at the vendor, having them demo it, But a bigger part of it actually comes down, we're here for Ascent, and that's a great group to throw out those questions. Somebody in the group is probably already venturing down that path in some way or manner, right? Uh, I've been working with ENTs for 12 years on the technology side, and pretty much without exception, ENT practices are about 80% the same and about 20% different. They all kind of do business in this similar fashion. They kind of use similar technologies. And then there's that 20% that makes them different and special. So somebody out there is looking at or already doing something that you are probably considering. And the vendors are going to come knocking. You want to be really very selective with the vendors that you end up choosing. I would say talk to many, but be very, very selective about the ones you choose to go into business with, because we are in our infancy of this technology, and it's going to mature. It's going to mature faster than what we're normally used to, but we are still very, very early on, and a lot of the products that are here today likely won't be here in the same form in 6 to 12 months. You're going to see uh, apps fall off because they just didn't make it. You're going to see consolidation at some point because that's what always happens in these boom type technologies. So, you know, choose an area that you think you can have the most impact. And that's going to be a little bit different for every practice. Every practice has a different challenge along the way. And then focus on that. And I wouldn't spread myself too thin. I wouldn't be looking to implement 3 different AI technologies in the next 12 months. I would say, what is the one area that I think I can get the most bang for the buck? Where can I save the most time? And a lot of times saving time equals saving money. So where can I implement that?
Yeah, that's good advice. And I've seen people using it just very simply, like handle our meeting minutes and put it together in a format, or help us write policies. But I've got colleagues that are using it for all their billing, all their coding, all their scheduling, all these. And there's some companies out there that are doing that technology where they've not needed to hire any new billing and coders. And then they've actually just been able, as people leave, they've just been able to not fill those positions, and they've just slowly ramped up the AI presence. It's really incredible.
And, those are typically your bleeding edge folks. They were probably bleeding edge on other technologies as well when they were first coming out, and they're very comfortable kind of leading the charge, so to speak. And they tend to be a little bit ahead of the curve, and they're reaping the benefits. And I think what you mentioned, you know, getting more out of less and getting that through attrition is a really good way to look at it. And when we looked at AI 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and I was presenting on AI in the couple of years ago, and it was just getting started, AI was going to replace everybody. And what we found is that that really is not going to pan out. What we're doing is we're enhancing what we have. And if you can enhance your quality employees and make them even better, give them more tools and enhance their skill set into areas that maybe would be much tougher to do without the AI assistance, then we're talking about real efficiency and real cost savings coming into the organizations, being able to do billing, for 2 people and only having one, because you still need that. You're still going to need that human interaction. You're going to still need people there to look at the billing or calls that are coming in or whatever you're doing with AI. There's going to need to be a stopgap of some kind, to look at the things that AI can't figure out or is just consistently getting wrong, which it's very good at. It does that a lot. But really leveraging it to do a lot of these repeatable um, processes that we see, the billing. We haven't talked about it yet, but inbound phone calls, uh, repetitive things that an administrator does on a daily basis. All of these are things that are really in the wheelhouse of AI.
The thing that strikes me, and I'm gonna use the inbound phone call as an example. I reviewed a service back in October of 24, and it was a $50,000 sign up basically, and it covered a year worth of the service, and it was an AI inbound phone agent, and it sounded pretty good. It was impressive. And now, months later, There are services with zero sign up fee, a couple $100 a month, and it's incredible. So, what I think is important is as you look for these things that are going to help your business, this might be a world where you don't sign long term contracts because the technology you're excited about today literally could be half as good of what's available in 4 months.
Oh, agreed. We are on a 6 to 8 week cycle right now of real changes. When my boot camp was accepted back in April or May of this year, I made the conscious decision that I wasn't even going to start working on that until mid-August at the
Yeah.
very earliest. And between then and now, there's been at least two or three major changes that have come into play that I'll want to talk about, specifically in ChatGPT. We got the O3 model, which is a deep think model. We have the ChatGPT agent now, which will run, you can watch it run a browser for you. You can log into websites and watch it do its thing. It is incredible to watch how this technology is working. Is it infallible? No, absolutely not. But for research and telling it to go do something, my wife's a potter. She loves pottery and clay, and so she wants to build out more of this. She's been going to school and doing this, and now she wants to do some of this at home. This stuff's really expensive, so I'm trying to find her used equipment. So I told the ChatGPT agent to go out within a 500-mile radius of my home and find a used slab roller. And it went on Facebook. I logged in for it. It went onto Marketplace. It went all over Florida looking for used slab rollers and Facebook and a couple other sites. And it came back with a list of 10,
Mhm.
all without me doing anything. It would have taken me hours to do that. And it took it about 15 minutes. And, so these are different things that didn't exist in January. They didn't even exist in May. This just came out. So you are absolutely right. This is going to change very, very quickly. And every 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to hear about the big new widget or the big new thing that something can do. Google's video, its version 4 is just absolutely freaking crazy what it can do now. In another 2 months, there's going to be something better. I'd lay money on it. So, be very careful about what you're buying into and for how much. I completely agree with that.
I'm curious, Paul, have you within your practice, are the ideas of AI being brought to you from different points within the practice? Is it typically a personality profile that is, hey, can we look at this? How is it floating up in your practice?
So I'm in academic medicine here at the University of Utah, Joe, and so there's like a lot of regulations. There's a lot of concerns about AI, especially where the physicians want it the most is being able to record the encounter and have that then populate the note. And everyone that we talk to in private practice, not everyone, but most everyone is adopting some sort of AI technology into their practice. But academics were like putting up guardrails. Can't do it. Don't do it. It's illegal. This. And so they've realized that there's so much clamoring for this technology that they finally have opened up the allowance of it with a specific specific AI group. And I'm sure other academic institutions are having the same kind of thing. It's like it has to happen. Like, it saves so much time and energy. And so that's been kind of an interesting to see is this like desperation for it. They see how it can benefit and save them time and getting them home sooner and just all that kind of stuff. Where it's also interesting, and this is, the physician side of it is there's patients that are coming into our doctors and saying, hey, I have these symptoms. This is my lifestyle. I put it into Chat GPT. I know that's personal information. I put it into AI and this is what I think I have. And then the
Hmm.
doctor does all this workup, comes back, 2 weeks later and says, you were right, or the AI was right. That is what you have. And so my doctors are starting to think, how is medicine going to change the way I practice? They're like, thank goodness I'm a surgeon because robots aren't going to be doing surgery in the next 5, 10 years. Maybe in 15 years though they will be, but right now I still have a job. but they're starting to think like, how is this going to change my day-to-day interactions? Does a patient just need to log in, put their symptoms in a computer, and then that goes to AI, and then it goes to a physician who then virtually calls them and lets them know this is what we think's going on? Like, it could change medicine completely.
You know, I agree with that with a caveat.
Yeah.
And that caveat is the AI is a layer. And it's a tool like anything else. And I don't think it'll ever replace somebody. I use the analogy. I can go to Home Depot and I can buy a hammer. I can buy nails. I can buy wood. I can buy plans to build a house. I can buy a plot of land. There is no way in 100 years I can build a house. I can buy all the tools, but I don't have that skill set. And
Mhm.
again, I think that these tools are going to help the providers make these diagnoses quicker because you're able to take in these large data sets. And I think what you're going to see is complex cases for a patient who maybe has seen 4, 5, 10 different providers over time, bring in, plop down their records.
Mhm.
You're going to be able to ingest those records, run it through a medically trained model, right?
Mhm.
Something specific for healthcare, maybe even specific to your specialty, maybe down the road, right? And it's going to help the provider narrow down what's going on, in a much more efficient way. Now, maybe it makes the call, maybe it doesn't, but I still think you need the highly skilled, smart guy or lady that has MD after their name making that final call. But I think it's going to enhance their ability to do that much faster because a doctor sitting down and going through 10 different visits of records, first of all, they're probably not going to do it.
Mhm.
It just takes too long. They're going to do their own exam and try and make their own diagnosis from that. If they have the benefit of all that other information, some of it may be great, some of it may not be so good. Maybe there's a quack in the middle of all that stuff, right? But they're able to filter that out as well. So I think it's going to be able to ingest. It's great, right? It's great at taking in a lot of information and coming out with a summary,
Mhm.
right? And that's a superpower of AI. And I think that's where the physicians in particular could very well benefit along with the patients.
Mhm.
You had mentioned the Ascent boot camp, and I want to let the audience know, the upcoming Ascent annual conference in Kansas City, September 9th through 12th. If you're not registered for it, definitely register. There's going to be a lot of powerful information. And you are doing what I would say is the best way to talk about this topic. It's not a 30-minute talk about what's cool, is you're doing a true boot camp, creating some understanding from the people who are watching, but then also they're going to be able to walk away with some actionable tools. Do I have that right?
Absolutely. I sure hope so. Because that is 110% the intent. We'll be encouraging those folks coming to the boot camp to bring their laptop or their iPad or their phone, where they're most comfortable working on. I'm old. I like laptops. So, and a part of the boot camp will be talking about big picture items, right? And some of the bigger topics that we're talking about, incoming phone calls, billing, and some of those big practice-wide topics. But the meat and potatoes, as I like to call it, of the boot camp really is going to be demonstrating multiple different tools for the administrators to just get a feel for. And hopefully they can take maybe one, maybe two of those tools back to their practice and feel comfortable trying something with that, right? It could be ChatGPT, it could be Notebook LM, it could be Perplexity or whatever other tool that we happen to get into during the boot camp, and give them the confidence that they can log in, know it's not going to hurt them, and know that they can, play with it and maybe come back, at some point get a comfort level where they're really using it efficiently on a day-to-day basis to help make their job easier. And that really is the goal of the camp, finding ways to save administrators time because administrators are pulled in 100 different directions constantly. And if we can find ways to streamline things, like I do things today that would have taken me 30 minutes 6 months ago, and I'm getting them done in 30 to 60 seconds because I know what I want to put in. I know the result I want. I just don't know how to get from A to B because I don't do it every day. And I get the answer. AI is like, here's the direction. I'm like, okay, yes, that's it. And I go about my business. So if I can find ways to save administrators 30 minutes a day, that's a huge win in my book. And that's really the goal.
That's great. It's called Boot Camp AI for ENT Administrators. Leverage AI to save time and cut costs at the upcoming Ascent annual conference. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today. This is really an interesting topic. It's not something we could ignore. And if people have more questions, they can reach out directly to you on LinkedIn. We'll put that link in the show notes for easy access. I really appreciate you spending the time with us and our audience.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Thanks for listening to the Practice Leader Podcast. If you're feeling the weight of challenges in your practice, know this: the problems you're struggling with today don't have to remain problems. There is a path forward, and you're not walking it alone.
Each week, we'll be here with insights, ideas, and real-world conversations to help you move forward from chaos to clarity.
See you next week.